What you're about to watch is part of an online training that I do twice a month inside my Movement Makers program, where I coach entrepreneurs like you how to build an online movement, how to make money from it, and use it to make a huge impact on the world. Enjoy. We have a special guest in the house, Mark Drager, who's going to be talking to us about personal branding for thought leaders. He is a dear friend of mine for over a decade. And he's one of the best at personal branding. So I think a lot of you for getting your message out there for like, how do you want to be seen? How do we get noticed? What do we stand for? Like when somebody sees your content, your videos, your Instagram, et cetera, it's like, oh, that's that person. And that's what they're all about, to make it really easy for people to explain and understand. That's what Mark's going to walk us through today. Mark Drager in the house, everybody. Let's give him some love. Clap it up.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. All of that good stuff. So this is a pretty dense presentation, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on every single slide. Now, the reason why it's so dense is I've been in presentations where your mind is being blown and it's like drinking out of a fire hose and you're like so excited, and then you go away and you go home and you start working through it and you're like, what? I don't remember any of that stuff. And so you are going to have this presentation. You're going to have the recording, of course, because you're a movement maker, but it's all there. So that way you could almost guide yourself through this process. So there's a lot there. Don't worry. We're going to move really, really quick. So here's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about branding. And for all of us who are thought leaders, no matter the experience you have, when you are stepping out from working in a company or being an entrepreneur or having a team and it's just you, it feels like you're on a ledge. It feels like you're on a cliff. It is one of the scariest things you can do because it's you. And if people love you, awesome. And if they're mean to you, it's you. You're putting yourself out there. And so our number one goal is to be able to close the gap between how people see you and how awesome you really are. Here's a really quick example of this. On my podcast, on the We Do Hard Things podcast last week, I interviewed a financial advisor expert. This guy is running a great YouTube channel, and he's getting out there, and he's written a book, and he's doing all of the right things. But my team, in preparation for this podcast interview, my team does full research on people. And then we had an editorial meeting where we reviewed all the research, and we planned how the podcast interview is going to go. And we were like, oh my goodness, this guy is so focused on finances, and it's just like so I don't know. And so I was really worried about how it was going to go for the interview. And then on the interview, he was amazing. He was delightful. He was full of color. He was full of experience. It was one of the best conversations. And at the end, I kind of said, I was really nervous going into this because I thought I was going to get one thing, and you turned out to be totally different. That's the gap we want to be able to close, because it doesn't serve us or help us for people to see us in this little tiny box, and then when they meet us, they're completely blown away by us. If that's the case, you have a problem with your brand. And so there's the gap. The gap is between how people see you and how awesome you actually are. I love the fact that I can come into a community like Movement Makers, that I've known Evan for well over a decade. Evan, it's been 15 years now, so we're humming along. But the number one mission is to be able to get your message in front of people who need it most. You have the opportunity with your experience, with your story. You can save lives. You can change lives. You can help people unlock the challenges you faced 5, 10, 15 years ago, so they don't have to go through the same things that you went through. That's massive. That's huge. Now, we're going to work through some hard truths. Hard truth number one, and this comes straight from Evan, your advice doesn't matter until they know who you are. I would actually argue that it doesn't matter unless they respect you. So the invisible expert, we know it helps no one, right? But the okay, average, mediocre, that expert isn't taken seriously. If you're not taken seriously, you're no better off than being invisible. And so we need to get uncomfortable about this. We have to face some of these truths, and we have to recognize that we are starting, and that's okay. But there are things we can do to level this up. Hard truth number 2, people are judgy. My goodness, are people judgy? They don't want to admit that they're judgy, but they are. Let's look at some things. Appearance. I can say this because I've been fat for most of my life. And so being fat for most of your life, cool. And then the last few years I've gotten fit. In the spring, I got really fit. And I can tell you, because I've been on both sides, people treat you differently. They treat you differently when you look a certain way, or you speak a certain way, or you show up with a certain energy, or you wear certain clothes. It's not fair, but it's true. Business. What experience do you have? What have you done? What have you built? Your social circles, the people you hang out with, the books that you read, right? Like here's a really quick list. Here's a really quick list. In the last year, I did this real quick, and I'm not bragging, but I am bragging. In the last year, I've hosted conversations, personal conversations on stage and virtually with Tom Bilyeu, Grant Cardone, Charlie Borman, Les Brown, Myrna Valerio, Lisa Bilyeu, Mr. Evan Carmichael, of course, Tony Horton, the founder of P90X, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, a great author, Katie Hoff, an Olympic medalist, Dave Meltzer, Julia Cameron, Zach Bitter, the guy who ran the fastest 100 miles ever at like 11 hours, James Altucher, more and more and more and more and more. Now, I'm going to tell you, like, before I did that, people treated me differently than they treat me when they know that I've had those conversations. In business, I spent 15 years running a creative agency. When our agency had 24 staff, $2 million in revenue, they treated me differently. People they treat you differently when they kind of can peg where you're at. What about your skills? What about the results that you bring? These things matter. We have to think about these things. Hard truth number 3. In marketing and branding and messaging, people are lazy. People are really lazy. And you know you really well. You know your industry, you know your message, you know you're steeped in it. And if you spend time in social circles with other people who are steeped in it, you get to the short form conversations, right? In this group, we can have next level short form conversations. We could cut right to the heart of the matter. We don't have to add context. We don't have to lay cookie crumbs. We don't have to start at the beginning. We can go straight to the point. And this trips us up because we think that other people are going to be able to pick up what we're laying down, but they're lazy. We have to make things really simple and really clear for them. The next point, what I was just hitting on, people will not fill in the blanks. They will not connect A to S while you skip everything in between. You literally, and it feels so painful and it feels so slow and it feels so basic for you, but you literally need to break things down for people and make it simple and connect the dots and start at the beginning. You have to do these things. And the reason I'm starting off with this is because these are all the things that trip us up. Number 5, perception is truth. It's really, really painful. But if you guys were to interview my past employees who are no longer my employees, you would probably think of me a little differently than if we were to meet over a cup of coffee. You'd think over a cup of coffee, wow, Mark is fun and outgoing and friendly and great. Then you'd interview my past team members who have quit or have been fired. They would think very differently of me. Now, which one is the real me? Both. Because however you perceive me is the truth you have about me. And so this is where the gap between how people see you, that's perception, and how awesome you really are, the truth, this is why it's killing our growth. Because people are judgy and they're lazy and all of those things. And last, this is another Evanism that I love so much. This whole process is something that will take the rest of your life. Like everything else, like switching from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, like writing your first book versus your 10th book, like being able to record your first YouTube video versus your 1000th. It's not like you're going to stop developing or growing or getting better. The things you love that you're so proud of today, in a year, hopefully you look back on and go, what was I thinking? That was so bad. And I know this because if you go back a year in my podcast, it was terrible. Great people, really, really bad product. And luckily, I surround myself with social circles, with people I'm building my skills, but people like Evan, who can reach out to me to say, Mark, this sucks. You got to fix these things. And I go, okay. Right? It's never ending.
If you want to watch the full version of this video, as well as train live with me twice a month to help you build your movement,
and be around some other amazing people just like you. Check out my Movement Makers program. The link to join is right there next to me. Can't wait to see you there. Continue to believe and go join.